So we've just come to an end of a long series, and what we did was we just followed from a little booklet that I got from the organization called IPEC, based in New Jersey, and took those pearls of unconventional wisdom and discussed them over a period of time. And it was really centered on, we're not really departing from engagement and living your life on your own terms, and but being aware, of course, of the many filters that you apply when you see the world in a certain way. So today I thought, it's not really a wrap up, but an offshoot of this conversation is, success. I think to some degree, or mostly, people feel that they would be happier if they were successful. And, that's a minefield, especially when you have to ask, well, okay, so what is success and how is success defined? And it's interesting is that people will define it in so many different ways. They look at successful people, whether it is successful in the sense of business people in the community, whether it's by occupation, doctors and lawyers and engineers. I remember when I started out in 1990, fresh out of university, started my first job in a place called Springs. As part of that, in order for me to receive my salary that first month, I needed to open a bank account, and I did with Standard Bank. And they were offering all kinds of specials and so on. And they had this achiever plan that they were offering to graduate students. And when I went there as a student, I said, well, can I not have this achiever plan, please? And I said, no, unless you are now going to be a doctor or lawyer or engineer, you don't qualify. So already what set up in my own mind is, well, okay, I was not one of the big three. By the way, the actually big four, but accountants also mattered. And unless you were studying any of those things, you fell in between the cracks, and already a standard for success was being set and positioned in my own mind. And I remember for the longest time, I couldn't get this achiever plan. And eventually I did qualify via seniority and level of salary. So that was quite interesting. And you have these kinds of, little cues along the way of living life in terms of what success is. Standing. Now you follow that was a career example, but now what is associated with those types of careers is then, what we would call the trappings of success: the house, the car, the schools, the holidays, and the network. And it's interesting. So you look at people and you say, oh, you know what? They have the trappings. They've got the house, the car. They send their kids to a certain school, and they can go on vacation to certain places. And that must be success. So you begin to aspire to therefore become successful, thinking that if only you could have those things, you would deem yourself to be successful. But what is interesting to me is in the work that I do, I ask that question. I see people put down as a value, a core value, it is success. And, after having been doing this for the last 17 and a half years, is basically, so what is that definition of success? And, mostly people say, success is is when they achieve their goals. Now, for me, it leaves so much room still to unpack. So, what are the goals that you set? And it's interesting to me is yes, I want to have this. I want to have this kind of a job. I want to live in this kind of a house. I want to live in this kind of an area. I want to go on these kinds of holidays. I want my kids to go to these schools. And those are the answers eventually, because a goal, especially financial goals, is to understand that these are all means to some sort of end, right? So unpacking success then becomes quite an interesting conversation, especially also when people want those things and you ask that why. Well, I want to be seen in a certain way, so now it becomes a status goal, because status is being valued. So why is status being valued? Well, that means I'm going to have power and influence in the community, and so on it goes. So success is quite a thing. And so, I want to talk about this particular aspect of, if in the definition is goal achievement, then I want to say, okay, so what kind of goals are being set? When I started my journey as a coach, as my oversight mentor introduced me to this concept of a BHAG, or a BAG, big, hairy, audacious goals. The kind of things that are so way out there that you set it, but you have no intention or necessarily to reach that goal while you are still alive. And so I used to ask him, well, why would you set something that is so way out of reach that that you might not achieve it? He said, well, the worst thing you can do is set goals that you do achieve. So it's a goal setting exercise that are just going on, and it's like, you've achieved your goal, now what? So rather set it in such a way that you are being drawn and attracted to it for as long as you live. And so then, when does the enjoyment then come? Because you're not achieving the goal. You see, this is the difference. So it then must be in the journey, right? Every single moment, every single step that you take towards that goal. So it's really that process. So I'm going to talk about those process, and just maybe, and I'm really not going to spend any time on this, is like, understand the difference between a strategy and a goal, right? You actually working on a strategy when you have to ask, but why is it that you want that? And if you can say, no, I want that because I want the other thing, so you're not really describing an end in sight. For instance, I want more money. Why? Because I want to buy more things. Why do you want to buy more things? So there's always a deeper underlying thing that it is that you want to achieve. So, and then actually, these are just strategies. This is means to an end. This is the way you've decided that it will bring you to that destination that you so covered. And you sometimes it's an unconscious end goal in sight, and you just think, well, let me go read a good book and really study very well, and go learn about the successful people in the world. How did they do things, right? How did they do things? And then you do the same things, and you end up in a place where you start getting these things, and you then have a problem. You then realize that the things that you thought that will bring you happiness, even fulfillment, just don't, because you're still lacking something. You got it, and there's still that question that says, but now what? I'm living in the house. I'm living in my dream house. I've got my dream family. Why am I not happy? And I want to tell you something. It's because when you live your purpose and you become significant, and significance is all about making an impact on the world, leaving an indelible mark on the world. That's what brings you fulfillment. So every single day, what energizes you is a level of fulfillment. And so, purpose. What is your purpose? We have discussed it so many times, and I remember even Shanaz in the last conversation we had spoke about purpose, right? As long as you are living your purpose, there's that sense that your life matters because you are making other people's lives matter. Purpose is never about yourself. Purpose is never selfish. Purpose is always about impacting the world around you. So here's the key. None of us impact the world in the same way. We're designed in a certain way. We care about things in a certain way. We care about others in different ways. We're passionate. We become angry, embarrassed, irritated when things don't work out in the way we think they should. Those are all indicators that you care about something. I think what we tend to do is we don't necessarily listen. We kind of dumb that voice down. Oh, no. Because guess what? That voice is telling us to, yes, you care so much, you get up and you actually go do it. And you say, no, I'm waiting for somebody else to do. But nobody else has got that passion quite the way you do. Don't care about that thing quite the way you do. So maybe, just maybe, it's giving you a good view of what your purpose might be. So I thought I'll outline some way of getting to this thing, because I know there's also the perception that to decide what your purpose is one of the most difficult things ever. But you know what? You just need to do a bit of inward exploration and be present and understand what triggers you, right? Don't compare. You see, because I think a life of comparison denies you the opportunity to be clear about who you are and what your purpose is, so that you can live a fulfilled life. So when you live a fulfilled life, this is where you enjoy your life. And an enjoyment of life does not mean life is easy, that you being spoon-fed. Nobody, who's got all the riches in the world live without challenges in the world. And I can guarantee you that. I've got a range of clients. I've got clients who are really, super wealthy. It does not mean they do not have challenges. We all have challenges in life. It's inescapable that we're going to have challenges. You just think I'm living in easy street because I got all these things. No, you just freed up now to focus on the other things that you haven't noticed before. Now you start worrying about a whole host of sometimes it's easy maybe to worry about money on its own and what it could possibly bring you. I kid you. Anyway, so what is the kind of a framework? And if it doesn't sound logical to you if you're listening to this, well, I'm just kind of bringing an idea to you, and hopefully it will stimulate your thinking in some way. I would say you start with this question. Because, as I just told you, purpose is not about yourself, right? So start off with what legacy do I want to leave behind? Way after I'm dead, what would people still talk about? Would they even remember you? And I thought when I was much younger that having to deal with this question, and I really apologize for this question, Shanaz, up front, but people normally ask, well, if you don't know, what would you like people to say at your memorial when you pass away? What would you like people to say about you? What would you want people to put on your on your stone, for example, at the grave, and so forth, and what should be inscribed in there? But what would you be remembered for? Is it about the businesses that you're going to, or the type of job, or the books, or the research that you've done, or is it about people remembering you in terms of how you impacted their world, what you brought into their lives, how you changed their lives permanently in different ways? So that's the kind of a legacy I'm talking about. So what would you like people to say, if you don't have a clue? Nobody, unless anybody who listens to this podcast can then write to me and tell me, well, it's true. They have discovered people who lie on their deathbed actually want to see their bank account and count all the money that they have in there, and count all their jewels, and see all their cars, and see all their properties one last time before they leave this earth. I would then be extremely surprised if that was the case. And Because in my view, when people are about ready to say goodbye to this world, the one thing they want to do is to say goodbye to loved ones and even to use the opportunity to reconnect with loved ones. I mean, it's an amazing, we set up that way. So it's got to do with people, your purpose. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, whether you believe you don't like to work with people or you like to work, it's nothing to do with that. We all, in our own way, have been designed to leave our legacy, to make an impact by pursuing the things we care about for others. And this is the thing, it is about others. It's all about, we call this the VTO principle. It sounds very scientific, but it's a value to others principle. All right, so how are you bringing value to others? That question, what legacy do I want to leave behind, or what do I want to do to make an impact on the world? And many people, is interesting things, people would say, but I want my life to matter. You know, when you get older, that's where you realize there's the success goals, all the things you want to achieve along in life, and then then there becomes the significance goals where you want to make a difference. You know, and so now unpack wanting to make a difference, because it's different things for different people. And yeah, you got to be like honest, but then you got to be courageous. And it's an aspect of, to define this maybe a purpose statement. This is where I've now laid the foundation for you, right? So what is it that you want to do to make a difference, right? And what I said earlier on is just notice the kinds of things that trigger you. The things that you if you look at people through a certain lens, whether they're young people or old people, people in between, people that struggle in a certain way, and you are called to do something. Say, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. I want to ensure that, for example, kids who have been orphaned have a loving family where they can grow up in a wholesome way, that they become strong adults and impact society, and also then make a difference. You know, I'm just throwing that as an example. That's a what, right? In a certain area, what could I be doing to make a difference? For me, it is, I believe I make a difference to society in a variety of different ways, but through my coaching work is helping people articulate exactly what it is they want to achieve in their lives, being able to put the words together and say, but that is what energizes me. Oh, Shanaz, I'm going to read this. Shanaz is saying, I want to facilitate people's psychological resistance to traumatic experiences. Oh, this is a labor, a marathon labor of love and focus, and I like it, and you're clear about what that is. And so that is the what, right? The next part of it is, now that you've defined the what, is like, how do I want to do this? Right? And yeah, again, we are all wired differently, and we want to do this differently. Right? So in Shanaz's case, in terms of her professional qualification, her career, her background, she's got a variety of ways of facilitating people's psychological resistance to traumatic experiences, right? All kinds of different ways that you can think about. Thank you. See, I'm getting that. So it's through teaching, training, and counseling. That is the how. Wonderful. So here's the question now. The third one is, well, why, Shanaz? Why do you want to do this in the way you want to do it? Why is the question. All right? I don't know if you got the answer, but generally speaking, it is being able then to get to that point where you can answer the why question. Why? I know what it is I want to do. I know how it is I'm going to do it. But why do I want to do it? Really? Right? So it seems like it, but isn't it the same? No, it's not quite the same question, right? It's just turning the diamond. If you want the brilliance of a statement, you just turn every facet, let it catch the light, let it sparkle. This is the why, and many iterations is you build the why in terms of, all right, so why in my case do I use coaching and mentoring to help people live success in their minds first before they actually do it? Because for me is, if everybody lives their purpose, we are all contributing in our different ways, we do make this world a better place. And when we do make the world a better place, we are enjoying the journey of doing life, not just the things that we focused on doing it with others. And so, after you've answered the why question, you then answer the who needs to benefit. Now, this question is important because, it's not about the entire human race, 8 billion people, right? The entire globe. No, there's a specific niche, a sector or a segment of the population that you want to see benefiting. All right. Now, in many ways, you don't exclude yourself from benefiting, but who needs to benefit from what you are doing, how you are doing it, and why you are doing it? Who needs to benefit? And answer that question. And, I always laugh. And it doesn't matter what age of client I'm talking to. It is, what do I do? How do I do it? Why do I do it? And who needs to benefit? And then the thing that we're talking about is that we become fellow pilgrims in terms of living out our purpose is, who will I partner with? Who will I do this with? Because you don't want to be, no man or woman is lives on an island, and we do these things together, and we, and by the way, it's about that sense of enhanced joy is actually when you do it with others, right? Who else is doing the same thing you're doing? So, you put all of these things, all these answers to these questions, you put it together, and then we say, and whilst, it's a very old way of saying it, but whilst you are doing so, where do you think you will end up? And this is where you attach the big, hairy, audacious goal to it. I mean, if I have to ask you, Shanaz, is that through teaching, training, and counseling, you're going to facilitate people's psychological resistance to traumatic experiences. You've answered in the background why that is, but where would this lead? Do you have some sort of an end in mind? Can you describe that end destination? Whether it's in numbers, whether it's in a number of people you want to impact, whether it's about countries and nations, and doesn't matter. You set it out there. Remember, that is just what is going to draw you. What energizes you are all these other things, right? That gives meaning to what it is you are doing. So here is what I hopefully have conveyed, is that if you want to live a successful life, live a life of meaning and purpose. Live a significant life. Describe what it is. Don't look at me or Shanaz or Julia or anybody else around you and go, but I desire their life. No. Grow a desire for your own life of significance, your own life of purpose. Work on that legacy. Leave it behind. And by the way, you work on the principle of one. Or in other words, others would say the power of one. But I like to call it whether we call it power or principle of one, it is making a difference. It's like the starfish principle. Make a difference to one person at a time. It's not the scale that defines your purpose. It's the fact that you have the courage to step into your purpose and make a difference to one person at a time. Some are saying, why are you only talking about people? I mean, we are environmentalists. We want to protect the environment. Well, sure, you want to protect the environment. So one animal at the time, one piece of flora at the time. In the end, who's going to benefit? Future generations, if you think about it. And who are future generations? People are always involved in everything that you want to do. Oh, I don't care about people, I just care about animals. No. It's in the end, the primary beneficiaries are all still people. And well, hopefully, I have kind of at least challenged you or convinced you. If you want to enjoy your life, ensure that you live it according to a clearly defined purpose. Now, I see, Shanaz, you say it's for you, it's enabling to contribute to developing communities through their own recovery. Yeah, and what will be interesting is that journey of doing all of that is there, and you don't have to have a marker, by the way, but something that just kind of draws, and maybe the best way I can put it to you, what does your promised land look like if you just do this every day? Where would that actually lead to? Because your life will have meaning every time you do this with every single person. Now, I know there's pros and cons, but should we really count and measure? Well, yeah, it's just a measure. It's like I wanna impact 100,000 people. Yes. How many people have I impacted since I decided I wanted to impact 100,000 people? Well, I've impacted 27 people to date. Big gap. So that for me, 100,000 is a big, hairy, audacious goal. Am I going to get there in the next 7 years or not? Well, I've set it for 2010. Let's see. Anyway, we've kind of run out of time. I don't know, Shanaz, do you want to say anything at all?
I yes, I think it's very relevant. It reminded me of actually my mom. I mean, I feel like I've always complained about her here, but my mom was a big community worker and involved in political activism. So obviously she made a big difference, and so I think we could definitely see that on Friday. And I think for her, the fact that she has five successful children who are serving God was
Mm-hmm.
her main, was her main. She would have felt that being a mother
Yeah.
and having children, was her biggest achievement. But I mean, there were other things in terms of politics and community as well. Making a difference, and she definitely made a difference. So it's really what you're saying today is like so appropriate. It's really kind of made me think about yeah, what is, I know Alistair did some work with me in terms of I'm still getting to how does my promised land look. So I'll be working on that. I don't want to be like those beauty queens who say world peace. So I'll try. So I'll try to be more. I'll work on it.
Okay, good. It's something that's in progress, but it's kind of sometimes when we get a little overwhelmed, is to pick up your head and say, okay, I want to be there. Where am I now in relation to that? And then it just once again spurs you on, knowing that it's one at a time, and you're taking the steps, and you actually are doing something that is absolutely magnificent for you. So no, I'm really glad that you joined, and you've got a fantastic sense of humor, and that's also something we need to be able to lighten up a bit. But um, a life of purpose is what it's all about, and man, we can enjoy our life. We're not talking about being in a happiness bubble all the time, but enjoying what we're doing, especially with others. And so it's a lonely place when I hear myself just speak, but when there are others around, it makes a massive difference. So thank you. And I want to say until next week, have a fantastic week and live your life with a purpose, on purpose. All right, so bye for now.